We're on day 2 here. Yesterday was a really cool day, very interesting. A lot of really high-level information and a lot of excitement around the space that we're all here celebrating, surf parks all around the world. So obviously I would love to dig into deep historical stories and really kind of pull it out of you guys. But this is Surf Park Central, so we are going to basically talk a lot about freshwater surfing and our experiences from a long time ago and from last week. So let me introduce you to our panel. Obviously, you guys all know these people on stage, some of the legends, icons, future stars, current stars of our sport, a lot of world champions up here today. So I'm just going to let you guys give a brief hello and introduce yourselves as you would like to be introduced.
I'm Kanga.
That's what I was going to say.
I surf. Yeah. I actually surf a stand-up paddleboard because I believe anyone on any board, on any wave is a surfer, which is kind of appropriate for the world of surf parks because there's going to be lots of equipment. And, I've been surfing over 55 years. It's the hub of my world. It's why Alyssa and I are still together, because we wake up wondering what the surf is like every morning. And, one day I'll probably keel over and die out there in the water. But this morning, because I didn't get the report about how dangerous the water was, I went out surfing, and there was just 2 of us out there with dolphins. And that's one of the absolute really special things about surfing, that being in nature by yourself, grabbing a few waves with people you like. And I think that that's going to be an element that's going to be very, very important in the world of surf parks.
I'm CJ, not Damien. And me and my brother were talking earlier. We're like, gosh, man, we're so different. They should be able to tell us apart now, right? Like, I'm skinny and bald, and you're fat and ugly, so... I would say that too if he was here, and he's actually not here right now. But I would. But I live in Orlando, Florida, and I have 3 beautiful daughters. And hey, I'm a fly on the wall. Thank you for having me here. I think what my understanding with wave pools and surf parks is. That there will be a generation that comes in and makes it their own and does what they want to do. And it requires all of us to sort of stand out of the way and just sort of go, yeah, that's your canvas, and you do what you do with it. And I had a dream. It was like an open platform. A kid was like, oh, I got it right now. I'm going to do 2 flips, and I'm going to have the second wave perfectly timed. 2 seconds apart. So I'll do this air and I'll land on the back wave and I'll ride out of it. And he sort of programmed it. So that's what I dream the generation that you guys are doing and building will do. Because, you guys have all dreamed about like doing an air and landed on the wave behind it. Like, it's always like fascinated me, and I've never done it. And I'm thinking, you guys, that's what you're doing here. So thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Debbie Beecham, and it's pretty much what CJ said. Just watching everybody in these parks has been so inspiring, and I'm kind of here as somebody who is just kind of very curious as to where it's going next. And full disclosure, I grew up here, and the Lochtefeld family, very close to our family, and so I've had an insider view from day one, and it's just been an amazing journey to where you guys are today. And I've been able to ride a few parks, but still loving the sport, still loving watching everybody surf, and having to get to meet this little one. I thought it was just so appropriate. We have this new generation, and like CJ said, there's just so much potential that can be brought out of these waves. So I'm a big fan, and here to just observe.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I love riding wave pools. They're just so fun. You get to practice things over and over again and take them to the ocean. And I think it's so cool to see the future as well. I'm from Hawaii, but I used to live in Texas, and it's really cool to have the Waco wave pool in Texas. And I'm just super excited to be here with all of these legends.
Hey everyone, my name's Shaun Beschen. I am retired pro surfer, husband, father, coach, and Erin is one of the promising young athletes I've been coaching for the last year or two. And just, yeah, for me, the whole wave pool industry has always been about fun, you know, bringing that stoke and fun of surfing to other places and locations around the world. And in the process, the reps of a wave pool are just incredible, you know, for someone wanting to be a pro surfer or someone wanting to not dig a rail on a cutback. It's just incredible to just keep having fun surfing and knowing that you're going to get waves without having to hassle. So I think that's a promising thing for our sport moving forward, and excited to see the future.
I'm Peter PT Townend, and I have to say that I remember as a teenager in Australia, I got an issue of Surfing magazine that had a picture of the 1968 world champ Fred Hemmings in a wave pool in Tempe, Arizona, and I laughed because I grew up at the Superbank, these perfect right-hand points. I go, wow, they got to be kidding, right? And then not too long after, or maybe after guys like Ian, Shaun, and myself were the initiators of the World Pro Tour, I moved to California, and I went surfing because I was the old world surf champ in Geauga Lake, Cleveland. And I went, wow, that's kind of fun, you know, like, and then I got to be the consultant on Typhoon Lagoon, the pool that got opened in Disney, and I was like one of the first people to surf it, and here we are now, 30 years after that, and the movie North Shore is actually becoming a reality. the evolution since they made that movie is it's testament to it right here. There's somebody coming from a wave pool that rips. And when the movie North Shore came out, everyone laughed at the movie, and now it's become a cult classic.
I thought it was a documentary at this point.
But anyway, it's stoked to be here again at the Surf Summit, and with all this peer group on the stage, and we're looking forward to seeing some more presentations today.
Hi there, I'm Shaun Thompson. I'm also very, very stoked to be here up on the stage with these tremendous surfers. So I've been involved with wave pools for a long time. I competed in 1985 in the first pro contest in a wave pool in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I mean, can you imagine that? I remember going up there, and across the wall was a big sign, pain is gain. And it was also like a fitness institute at the same time, really, really crazy owner. But my best story about a wave pool, I'm in South Africa. I've just retired from the Pro Tour in 1990. I get a call from a guy called Sol Kersner. Sol Kersner is one of the greatest hotel builders in the world. He built the Lost City in South Africa, the One and Only Resorts, and Atlantis in the Bahamas. He said, Shaun, I'm opening a new hotel. We've got the biggest wave machine in the world. We want you to catch the first wave. He said, this is what we're going to do. We're running the Miss World contest at the same time. We're going to have all the Miss World contestants on the beach with bikinis. We're going to have the winner on a big stallion in her bikini. You're going to ride that first wave. You're going to jump out the water. You're going to run up the beach, jump on the back of the stallion, and ride off with her. My wife put a kibosh to that idea, let me tell you. But I did manage to catch the first wave, and that's my enduring memory, missing that stallion, baby.
Love it. That contest was so good. Billy Joel wrote a song about it, Allentown. Well, I kind of want to start this, I would say, one of the most exciting surfers that I think we could all agree that any of us have ever seen is sitting on stage right now. I'm talking about young Miss Erin Brooks over here. So, Erin, you are of a generation where you learned to surf in the ocean like all the rest of us, but you quickly went to, I think your probably first experience was at BSR, but you can tell me otherwise. But you have literally changed the game of surfing, and this is not hyperbole. If you've never seen footage of Erin Brooks surf, she's changed everything, and she's done it in both the ocean and in the wave pool, and you're of the first generation now that we've all got to witness the trial and error, the practice that you put in at BSR Surf Resort in Waco, and it was pretty much immediate that we saw you take it to the ocean by winning Stab High down in Costa Rica in the ocean. So I think I'd love to hear from you, how long you've been surfing, and tell us about what wave pools have done for your surfing and for your career as you've pretty much quickly become one of the most famous and beloved surfers in the world. So I am putting you on the spot because that's what we're here for. But tell us about growing up and really learning the tricks of your trade in a wave pool and then taking them to the ocean.
Well, I've only been surfing for 5 years. I grew up in Boerne, Texas, which sounds weird because now I go back to Texas to surf. But once my brother graduated college, my dad retired, and we moved there. And the first day we were there, my neighbor invited me to a little surf lesson, and that's how it all started. I just loved it, and the coach said I was natural, and I did it every morning before school. But I think wave pools have helped me a lot because they're exactly like a skate park. You can practice things over and over again and have the confidence to take them into the ocean. And you have the knowledge of where the air section is to go up and hit it, how much speed you need. And I think it's definitely helped a lot of people surfing, especially mine, and a lot of younger girls like me, all of the ladybirds. And I think we're all just pushing the limits of surfing. And I think that just getting to go there and practice a bunch is helping me. Especially how, just going there and then taking it into the ocean and just practicing a bunch, falling a bunch, because that's how you learn. You have to fall to learn. But I think it's helping everybody.
Yeah, and I think Erin's latest clip, she basically went to BSR and went down a trick list and did things that a lot of us probably never even thought were possible, and she's doing them all in the span of a day. So let's hear it for Erin Brooks. I mean, I don't want to say the future because it happened already last week and it continues to happen on a daily basis. So let's get some first wave pool stories. Debbie, I actually got to see you ride the Kelly Slater Surf Ranch. You got the opening wave at an event a few years ago, and that was super rad to see.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So tell me about your first experiences with freshwater surfing.
Well, like Shaun said, I was at that same Allentown event. I didn't get invited to the one with the horses, but the experience was very different, and we had so much fun. And you get tired so quickly because you're catching so many waves. So I just remembered that it was just nonstop fun and smile all day. So back in '85, I mean that's the early days. But like you said, getting to surf the Kelly Slater wave, and I got the first wave of the morning, which is pure glass, and it was an amazing experience. Kind of like how Ian described this morning. It's like it didn't matter that it was in a pool; it was just beautiful. And so for me, I have so much respect, and I just love to ride more waves. So just put me on your guest list, everybody.
Yeah, Debbie is available for first wave any day, anytime, any place.
Yeah, anytime, any place. So yeah, I love it. I love all the wave pools, and yeah, that's my earliest memories. So
That's right. Kanga, you have an early wave pool memory?
I'm responsible for the Allentown event. Yeah, I was running the ASP at that time, and I think it was Tom Lochtefeld called up and said he has this, and I met the owner of the park, who is kind of pretty crazy. At that moment, I realized that there's something really special about the idea of bringing the surf to the people, which was actually the premise for the OP Pro. You bring the surfers to where the people are, which is diametrically opposed to the Dream Tour. But when you fast forward to today, the way that these wave pools and opening up surfing to so many areas in the world. If you look what's happened in Munich with the ice spark and the way that spawned the stationary wave, it spawned the Rapid Surf League, it spawned a whole group of surfers that are doing tricks on that wave there, but then, like Erin's saying, is they take those tricks and they go and learn the ocean. And it's created this entire inland world of surfing, so it's opened up the world to surfing. So the stationary wave thing is something that's similar to what's happening in rivers in Switzerland, in rivers all over the world. People just love to surf. And I was recently at the Epic Surf place and I met some guys from Colorado that are now sending me pictures of them surfing waves in Colorado. And so for me, the idea with the ASP was to spread surfing to more people around the world. And this particular movement with wave parks is part of that movement. It's going to take surfing into new places around the world that in the same sort of pace that social media has taken surfing around the world. And in social media, I make friends with people because I just love when people start surfing. And I've made friends with this one stand-up paddle woman that's been trying to learn how to surf in the Black Sea, and she's part of the Russian Surf Federation, who recently ran their championships at Vladivostok and are running a surf camp in Kamchatka right now. And so Elena just recently, out of the blue, just won a world championship at the Stand-Up Paddle Championship along with Fiona Wilde. And so this spread of surfing to so many more people is a movement that's occurring just at a really dramatic pace, and a lot of it's because of our friend Fernando. This Olympic movement is creating surf teams in Olympic, in countries where surfing has never been thought of before, and it's going to grow dramatically on a worldwide basis. And for me, I grew up surfing by myself in Western Australia. So it was always cool to find someone to go surfing with. So I've always been on a mission to spread the stoke of surfing. I'm not afraid of there being too many people in the water. I'll just paddle down the beach to a different peak. And so the idea of sharing what we love to do with more people is kind of a pretty spectacular idea. And that's what this conference is about. It's about talking about how can we help stimulate and make that happen.
I love it. Spreading the stoke and sharing it with the world. CJ, let me guess. Typhoon Lagoon?
It always tripped me out that thing was made so long ago.
Right?
And still going.
And still going, and still a really fun, rippable wave. Was that your first wave pool experience?
Yeah. I was just thinking that us humans, we just like to look at waves. It doesn't care if it's like behind a boat, doesn't matter. Like, we just like to look at waves, I don't know. I see people just like at Volcano Bay now, and it's like there's not even waves, and I see people just running, and they just want to like look at waves. So
It is definitely there's nothing like I think it happens every single time with every park you go to. I've been fortunate enough to surf in Dubai, Typhoon Lagoon. My first wave pool experience was at Oasis in Palm Springs, which will now be the Palm Springs Surfing Club. And we got yelled at for standing up on our boogie boards. My brother and I were thinking we were the coolest guys in all of Palm Springs because we could stand up in the wave pool and no one else could. But it is really interesting that you have this progression of wave pools all the way through. And, as a surfer, you always dreamt of that day where you would wake up. And I think really well illustrated Kelly Slater's first look at the Kelly Slater, the surf ranch, where you could just his face and then Jerry Lopez's face and then our faces every time, you would see that wave or a new wave pool, a new image would come out and you'd see this, and it would just, every time, it never gets old. Shane, I know you've definitely felt that feeling on surf trips, pulling up to a spot in Indonesia on a boat, and you see it and you go, oh my goodness. And now it's being replicated, you know, and I think out of this, in the next year or so, we're gonna be feeling that same emotion, that same feeling over and over. I know when you guys turn on your wave pool at Waikai, you're gonna feel that. So tell me about the first time that you saw a chlorine wave that got you really excited.
Well, the first chlorine wave I actually surfed was in Irvine. It was at the PSAA.
Raging waters?
Yeah, raging waters, and it was like a little mushy right that went across and then bounced off it basically zigzagged back and forth. So you go right, and then you go left, and then you maybe go back right if you could make it that far. And that was the first wave pool experience I had. And then the second was Typhoon Lagoon as well, you know, and one of my interests in wave pools started way back when. Actually, there was like a full event at Typhoon Lagoon, and I ended up getting second, and Machado got first. And after that event, I remember thinking like, wow, as a competitor, just thinking like, oh, this is like so cool because it's pure skill based. You know, the ocean is incredible and an unpredictable beast of X factors that, you know, you can never control. So there's a lot of skill set in competing in the ocean, but there's a lot of X factor, luck factor as well.
Luck, yeah.
I mean, luck, rhythm, flow, like, you know, who knows what it is exactly, but there's a lot of unpredictableness, you know. So for me as a competitor, I remember looking back at that event going, that's really cool. It's like a straight showdown, you know, like everyone gets the same. It's all based off skill, you know. So that was my first interest, you know, as a competitor, you know. And then moving forward, I went to the wave pool that Doug Coors did in Texas with John Leff. That was like the first main wave surf park in America, you know, and I want to give a shout out to Doug for pioneering that as well, because as we know, the first ones to do things are often considered crazy and, you know, illogical, but I think without him doing that, there would be a lot less surf parks right now. So that was another experience. And then, yeah, Waco was insane. I got to go there a couple times, and like everyone's saying, you know, I just think it's, you know, spreading, and like CJ said, the moving water and just putting moving water in places that they don't usually see it is just incredible. And then you add, you know, the acrobatics of surfing to that, and it just becomes much more of a surf park, you know. It's like almost an entertainment, you know. People love going just to watch, so it's fun for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. PT, you grew up in a time where you basically lived at the world's best surf park on the Gold Coast. I know you've had tons of experience at the Silver Dragon, the Chinese River Boar wave, but the first time you saw a real good functioning wave pool, what did that do emotionally for you? And was it kind of an immediate love thing, or was it kind of, we'll see what happens?
Oh, it was, we'll see what happens, because in '84, when I went to the Geauga Lake one in Cleveland in the amusement park, I took myself, Bill Sharp, and Keith Sasaki, the bodyboarder, right? and we rode the pool, and you know, it was the flush system where it's just basically a swell coming down with a bunch of white water. But after that, when I consulted in helping get Typhoon Lagoon built, I got to go surf that, and you had, you know, you could run the peak or you could run the wall. And my son tossed the skateboarder, and I got to surf it all day by ourselves one day, and that was a great experience. But I think one of the other cooler things that was mentioned about where we're at is the repetitiveness, and also from a coaching point of view. So, as most of you know, I spent a couple of years living in China because surfing getting in the Olympics. And I took the Chinese national team to their first ISA World Games in France in 2017. And the Wave Garden guys heard that we were in town, so I got to take the Chinese team, these kids who'd never seen a wave pool, to the Wave Garden up in the mountains of Spain, which is so beautiful and everything. And I love to tell this story because it's funny. And so when the Wave Garden wave comes out, there's 3 waves, right? And so my kids, I'm sitting on the deck with one of the engineers, actually having a glass of wine at about midday. It was very civilized. And the kids are in the water. And the first set comes and they all get on it and they're flipping out, and they can take off and ride, and they end up right where I'm sitting on the deck with a glass of wine. And the engineer goes to me, he goes, "Would you like me to turn up the volume?" And I'm laughing. I'm going, "What are you talking about?" He says, "He's got this computer thing." And he said, "Well, I can turn up the volume. I can make the wave more challenging for them, and these kids aren't that experienced. I mean, they could surf, but he said, well, so how much different will it be?" He says, "Well, I can turn it." He said, "Well, how much should I turn it up?" I give it everything it's got. So the kids don't know this. They're all sitting out there, and the set comes, and all 3 of them go over the falls because the thing stands up so fast, and one breaks his board in half. It actually nosedives and breaks, right? And I'm just sitting on the pool, and it made me realise how important that's going to become for training in the future. That as a coach, you can sit there, and that kid comes in, and you can tell him, no, that's not the way to do it. Go back out that and do this. That's where, over time, Glenn Brummage and I were talking about this morning, what's this look like in 10 years? We're sitting here talking about this, but what does this look like in 10 years? And when Ian was talking about the Olympic thing, you're going to have countries, landlocked countries, they're going to have one of these technologies there that they're going to train in, and there's going to be a whole different approach to training that we've never had before. The most difficult thing, I think, when you look at it from, say, the Olympics or the WSL is how are we going to blend the out of the ocean and in the ocean? Because kids are going to learn to grow up that never seen the ocean, that they didn't have to. But at some point, if you're going to become a professional surfer, you're going to have to face chopu or pipeline, and you ain't going to learn that in a pool. So I think that's going to be one of the bigger challenges. What does that look like in 10 years for a pro surfer,
Typhoon Lagoon, the inside section, the ground is pretty rough. Kind of feels like chopo. That could be something moving forward that we fix.
If I remember correctly, Shane did a rotation in the pool in that event on that last little section. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Because you could wind up for that last little bit, right? And you did a little full rotation.
There was a photo.
Everyone was blowing their mind.
The boat behind it.
We were in a pool, right?
And actually, to Shane's point, that I was a kid on the beach at Typhoon Lagoon, and watching him and Rob spar like inspired me big time. I was like, yeah, that's the way it should be. That's more like a fight. But what was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say. But I was thinking that how rarely people learn how to take off underneath the lip, and I was like, imagine if you could train her to you just go full slab wave, and she absolutely learns how to take off underneath the lip and stand up in the barrel, and it's that's what they do. That's something that because it's so hard to train for that, and it was something that always fascinated me. And as you were talking about that, I was like, you could just learn how to take off like that. Right. You don't have to take off from traditionally. Yeah, from day one.
You look at surf lakes, and they built that slab, and Joel Parkinson couldn't make a takeoff. If you build a wave that Joel Parkinson can't make, then
he's a pipe master.
That's gnarly. But you know what they did? Is they actually changed the bathymetry and built a ramp in behind exactly like at the box. So you could paddle, you could paddle in and then backdoor the section. So the ability to modify a wave by making changes in the energy of the wave or changing the bathymetry, this is kind of really, really interesting.
It gets your mind just exploding.
Erin could have made the drop. I think. Yeah, I think so.
Move over, Joel. Watch out.
So obviously we have some of the most talented and smart wave pool designers, wave designers, standing wave technicians in the room now. So this is a perfect time for this group right here, who is some of the most accomplished oceanic and freshwater surfers in the world. So Shaun, I love the story of your first wave pool experience. I think that could become a movie. I would watch that movie, no doubt. So let's, any affiliation we have, right, with any wave pools that we work with for Want to Ride Again, let's take that out of the equation. And let's talk about dream waves, dream experiences. Shaun, you've been around the world and back many times, surfing probably every wave that's named on the planet, really well, by the way. So tell me about, what would your dream experience at a surf park be? That includes walking through the front gate all the way to when you're riding the tube. What would that look like through your eyes?
So CJ had a dream where he'd do aerial and land on the wave behind it. And it's pretty cool that we still dream about surfing. And I think perhaps Ian and PT and I, we've been surfing for like over 55 years. And like, I still dream about surfing. And I had this dream that I was riding a board in a wave pool that was no bigger than my feet. So my dream wave pool, you walk in, there's a shaping bay, and there's a glassing bay right there. And I got a shaper, and I'm going, I want to get a board as big as my feet. And you guys have designed a way where we can slip into a wave on a board, and the board's only this big as your feet. Because boards are designed for two things. One is for high-performance surfing, and the other one is for paddling. I mean, most of the volume in a board is there for paddling. I mean, you look at what the tow guys are riding. They're riding 4'5", and even Shane, he's the hottest. Shane and CJ, they're riding, 5'10", 5'11", 6'0". But you ride a board no bigger than your feet. We're talking the next wave for surfing. So there's a lot of development, I think, that's going to happen, not just in creative surfing with people like Erin, but also I think there's going to be an absolute equipment revolution. So whoever's going to build the park, and you're going to have a shaping bay and a glassing bay, I'm there.
Nice. Erin, is this the same board you would ride at Lowers at Waco?
This was the board that I rode at Waco my last trip, that I did all of those tricks from the trick list. And I wouldn't normally ride it in the ocean because it's a little bit too small for me, but it definitely helps rotate better and it gets more speed, and it's really easy to land. It makes the landing softer, and it's super fun. The nose is a little bit wider than it would normally be, so it's really good for paddling, and it floats really well, and it's just my favorite wave pool board. It's 4'9".
4'9". So she's living your dream right now, as we speak.
Would you ever ride that one in the ocean?
My feet aren't that big.
One thing I want to add to what Shaun just said is very true, because on the city wave, I've ridden like 410s and stuff on that wave because there's no paddling, there's no taking off, and it's really cool to, I've talked to a lot of just even average surfers that, normally ride 6'4s or whatever, and they're riding, 5'8s, and so the size of board and the whole dynamic design of making these boards for these waves, I think you're totally right. There's going to be a whole nother like board revolution that comes with it.
Yeah, so we've got a symposium later with two of the best shapers in the world, the gold medal shapers, Matt Biolos and Timmy Patterson later, and I'm going to be asking the guys about what's going to be the next tech revolution in the context of wave pools, and I think they're going to come up with some amazing ideas. It's going to be super interesting.
Well, Shaun, what Shane just spoke about was City Wave and also Epic Surf are these standing waves, but you can sit on the edge of the pool, and so there's no paddling. You can put the board in the water and stand up and go. And that's a completely different surfing experience in those pools than what it is sitting in the water on a regular surfboard like it is at Waco. So there's these different pool designs that are going to be beneficial for learning different sorts of skills. So it'll be like going two different surf breaks. You go and ride the standing waves, you go and ride the the bigger wave. I mean, the Kelly's wave is completely different. So there's all these different types of waves. But one of the things that's, if I want to ride a wave, so when I was at Kelly's wave, I was just going, because I always want to go into my storehouse
Was
of
that when you were in
information.
front of me?
Huh? No. Well, I missed the opportunity to drop in on you. I remember riding behind you a few times. But imagining a real world wave that's in your experience and applying that knowledge to the wave that's in the park. So I realised that the right-hander at Kelly's pool is north side Huntington Pier, because the way the energy comes like through the pier on a big south swell, and the peak is moving backwards, and you never get to the pier. And so therefore, I just went, oh wow, I'm at north side, so now I had a way of riding it. And so taking some of our ocean experience and applying it to these, the pools, is another way.
I like that. It does go both ways, for sure. PT, dream scenario. You get to talk to one of these brilliant minds out here and design your ideal surf park experience. What does that look like?
Well, growing up at Kira, it kind of looks a little bit like Kelly's wave.
Take Kira and put it in a pool. That's easy.
We're on a perfect day at Kira, when the sand's perfect and you've got the perfect swell coming, ground swell coming on the sandbar, it just lines up like that perfect. I mean, Besch would remember, because he scored the three perfect waves, right, and that's exactly what it was like that day. So for me, I'd probably, if I was younger, that would be my choice. I mean, when we get to this point in our lives, it's what we call now, as Rabbit says, it's all about the pop-up. It's all about getting to our feet.
Getting up.
If we get to our feet, we're dangerous. So Kelly's wave, to me, from point of view of just the wave itself, I mean, I think that's really good. But I think also you look at, say, the Surf Lakes one, where you got 4 different waves. I mean, imagine if you're there for a day, you can go ride all 3. You could go get a longboard and go surfing like your Duke Kanamuku at Waikiki, or you can go to the slab and go over the falls and get smashed, or you can go to Aki's Left and a little backside boogie. So I think that from a fun point of view, it'd be pretty hard to beat that too. But if you just talk about perfect scenario, I want to be young again, so I can have that vision that I had at Kira, just looking out of the barrel for however long I can stick in there, like Besch got when he got those 3 that time in the ASP contest that we had at Kira.
No doubt. So did you guys take notes out there? Just put Kira in a wave pool. PT will be stoked. Shane, we don't have much time left. And a time machine. You walk through the gates. Yeah, that's easy. They can do it. Shane, like I said, we don't have much time left, but tell me about the dream scenario for you. Obviously Waikai is going to be that. We know this, but if you didn't have that, what would you be, if you could walk out that door into the dream surf park scenario, what would that look like?
Well, I definitely wouldn't mind Kira action, so that's one thing. But Oriole was up here yesterday saying you can't cheat physics, and so for me, I think, as this wave pool industry progresses, it becomes the anomaly of size. I think that would be the next phase of this. Like figuring out how to get to the height of that light right there. So at that point, then it becomes even more of a real deal and elevated fun.
Then we need some padded reefs, for sure.
Maybe a little padding.
A little padding. Erin, you're truly living the dream. I'm sure at this point you've been or will be invited to every wave pool on the planet, as you should be. You should be the official wave pool surf park tester from here on out. So let me ask you, what is next? What would you like to see the progression of surf parks and wave pools? What would work for you? Because I think that's what we're all aiming for here.
Probably just to have them teeny tiny bit bigger because a little bit of them are kind of small, but I would want them to have a lot of training facilities there, like trampolines or skate parks, so you can come in from a wave and then practice it on the trampoline with your coach, and then go back out there and try it again. That would be a dream, because I used to be a gymnast and I love to flip, and I think that would really help.
I love it. So that right there, I mean, we talked a little bit yesterday about having skate parks. Yeah, skate parks, let's add trampolines. The fun factor, of course, just goes up, and then obviously the performances follow. Debbie, you get to just walk out this door into the dream surf park scenario. What does that look like?
Well, I guess I've had to kind of find my dream wave in real life anyway. And I've been lucky because we go down to Scorpion Bay a lot, our family, and that wave is great because it's not only really long, but it has all these sections, and there's some little barrel sections, or you can have a longboard wave at a different point. So in my dream wave scenario, it would just be kind of like Kira, because Scorpion's a little bit like that, but just a really long wave, so you can just get these hits off the top and plane out and get speed and go really fast. And the bathymetry is so critical. I know just from talking with Tom Lochtefeld a bunch that it's so important to know what the next section's going to do and how it's going to react. So yeah, something in that realm. But I also agree with Shaun that the surfboards can really change to fit these waves. I noticed early on when I was watching the very first photos of like Steph riding in the barrel at the Kelly Slater pool, there seemed to be a lot of chatter off the bottom of the board, and it just feels like there's room for creating the perfect board for the perfect wave. So a little bit of all of that.
I love it. And I could visualize you at Scorpion Bay, and that is a beautiful thing right there. I'd like to see that sometime.
When I would do boat trips, we'd go, oh yeah, let's go to Macca's, and but we're only going to be there for 2 days at the most because you get bored of it after a while. It's too perfect. But I would go to the AS.
Back that up a second.
I would go to no, listen.
Perfect.
No, let me pull another thread here. I would go to the ASP banquet, and they would go, and I'd look at my brother or something, and I'd be like, they're gonna do move of the year, wave of the year, and stuff, and I guarantee it's at Bell's, which I hate Bell's, and then there'll be John doing some
Shaun's
crazy
gonna fight
move
you.
at Rio, and I didn't like Rio, the waves, and I'm like, and I was just never. I mean, there is this really, really beauty in the not perfection. There's just so much beauty in things not being perfect, and so I just was thinking I'm gonna go in a really different direction because I've always asked myself, like, why do waves that you hate people do the best moves on them? You know, so I don't know. You guys can ask yourselves that question too.
So CJ wants a closeout, if you guys can help with that.
How
Maybe
fun is a
onshore.
closeout? Come on, guys.
He wants
How good
fans
is a
blowing
closeout?
on shore and a closeout.
Dead. Yeah.
They can.
Welcome to
these guys can do
Bells.
that.
Welcome
Yeah.
to Bells.
All right, Kanga, dream scenario. What's it going to be?
The dream scenario is when I was a kid in Western Australia, I would drive down south and I would camp at Injured Up Bay and under the peppermint trees with my tent. I'd walk over the sandhills and I discovered the next peak over, which we call P-break, which is a little bit like the box, this perfect peak. So I don't want a long, long wave. I just want a wave that's got a challenging takeoff and you can backdoor the section and just be looking out at this big curve. Remember off the wall? Those waves. They're not long, but they just are so intensely packed. So my dream scenario is to come drive up in my Land Cruiser, get a campground spot, be able to hang out and just enjoy the surfing lifestyle. And then, it's 3 o'clock, I'm up for my session on the peak out there. And then come back and, have a beer as the sun sets. So I think it's more than just the ability to train on a wave, it's being able to replicate the entire surf experience. That would be my dream wave park.
Can I come? Can I come camping with you?
Oh, totally, mate. And I think there's a left off that peak.
I can go left, you go
Yeah,
right?
I go.
We got this, we got this.
We split that.
I love it. Well, we could sit up here and talk all day, and I would like that. But we do have a lot of fun, interesting, and amazing things to show you today here at day 2 of Surf Park Summit. So let's hear it for our champions, our future champions. Erin Brooks. Watch the footage if you haven't seen Erin Brooks surf. I mean, the rest of these people are very good, but Erin Brooks, wow, amazing.